Well, creative friends, my name is Joey Balestrieri. Welcome to my work table. I have just received my Potomac Treasure Box edition for July, and it is called Aloha Paradise this month, and it is so packed with beautiful, unusual, unique beads, and I am really excited to do my first project with it. So I have gone into my own stash and pulled out a few things, but honestly, most of the things that I pulled out were left over from months past with the treasure box. So I'm using these 2 whole beads that were in this month's box. There's plenty of them. I actually am going to put them in a second project. I'll be using these little check glass flowers. I'll be using these little yellow disc spacers. We got this beautiful little connector that we can set our own cabochon, which came in the box, this little 10mm cabochon, and so I will be definitely doing that. And then what you see here is another 2-hole bead, and this was from a past box from Potomac Beads. These are disc duos, and it's a mix called Ancient Gold. And what I did is I pulled out some of the more orange and the more pale golds in it, and literally there was only one of these green ones, and I don't know if I'll use it, but silver came in the box, but I want to add in some gold. Silver and gold mix is a big trend for 2024, and I'm more of a gold girl, so I like to mix it in wherever possible so that I can layer my bracelets and my projects. And then I just have a little magnetic clasp from my stash, and I love these little magnesite turquoise gemstone beads here, and I was crazy about these little 4mm chartreuse check glass rounds. I just love that fresh, bright tropical green. And they were lovely enough this month to give us a little tube of E6000 glue, which is one of my favorite glues. But I'm going to finish up the tube that I had already started working with. And I also have some of these Bibo 2-hole beads. We got gray ones in the box, and I'm saving those for my next project. So I pulled in my gold ones that I had in my stash. And you know, I'm not sure when I start stringing and making my pattern if everything that's out here will make it into my project. But before I talk to you about that, I want to go ahead and set my little stone, not stone, it looks like a stone, but it's check glass. I'm going to go ahead and set that because this has to, the E6000 glue has to have a little time to dry before we can handle it. So I'm going to go ahead and put like a little dollop of glue right in the center. And these little connectors are amazing. They feel so good. The quality is so great in these. They are from the Potomac Treasure Box, or Potomac, I've got Treasure Box on the mind, the Potomac Beads website, and it is a great alternative to the Tiara cast if you are missing it. I went through, I haven't in a little bit, but when I first discovered it, there's like 50 pages of products in the Athena cast line, and I was very impressed. I went through every single page. So I have my little E6000 glue, and that is going to just sit and dry. And what I'm going to do is take one of the little Athena cast oval jump rings that came in the box and just open this. Whoops, my other pair of pliers. Just going to open this and go ahead and connect my clasp to my little connector. It's not set up yet, so I have to be careful about, you know, what I do with it at this point, but it's in there enough that I can connect my clasp. Magnetic clasps are a pain sometimes with your pliers. And I'm just going to close that really well. That little oval jump ring. These are such nice jump rings. And I'm just going to set that here to dry. And then let me show you my little test strand. I want to do one of my knotted bracelets on Brazilian waxed cord. It is one of my favorite things to make. If you've been around my channel, I'm sure you have seen me do a project or two with this, but I just love it. I love how movable and malleable this is, and for the summer months it's so lightweight, and there's no metal, there's nothing to interfere with moist skin or sunscreen. And I have this beautiful orange which went along perfectly with the colors in this box, and I don't know the millimeter because my package is not marked, but it is the smallest that it comes in. And so if you can see my little test strands here, my 11/0 seed beads string on there just fine. I was able to get both strands through the little check glass round. Both strands fit beautifully through this little gemstone bead, and you know, the little round duo accommodates those threads really nicely without struggling. I'm going to take my little sampling off of here, and this was just a scrap that I had inside my little spool. I just keep those scraps like that because if I am doing earrings or something that I don't need much of, then I have that and I'm not wasting. So what I did is I cut 2 lengths exactly the same of that Brazilian cord, and this is probably 30 inches or so. I am very generous when I cut my cord because knotting eats up a lot of length of your cord, and these projects are so much fun for me. And I don't ever know how many knots I'm going to do, if I'm going to do one after every single bead. When I get going on it, then I get my rhythm. But to start off with, I don't know. So I'd rather tuck my extra cord away if there is any than to run short. So if you're not familiar with Brazilian cord, you can just, it's got a very light coating of wax. It's not sticky or horrible, but you can like activate the wax to make a little needle by kind of pinching and twisting. And if you want to, you can take some super glue and just like do that with a plastic bag, or brush some clear nail polish to stiffen the ends, but I never do that. I've tested to make sure that I'm not struggling, and so that is what I do. So since I am basing this design on the 2 whole beads that came in the box, these little round duos, I lost the name, and these little bibo beads, I have the 2 cords, but I'm going to come right here and tie this cord right on to my little magnetic clasp. And waxed cord is really great for knots. It grabs onto itself very well, and your knots can lock down into place very easily, but I still put a little drop of beater's glue on it. So I'm just going to start off with 2 overhand knots and do my stringing, and at the very end, when I'm all done with my design and my knots, I will add a little bit of glue. And I also let my little tails here hang out because sometimes I trim them away, sometimes I add some small little beads, sometimes I just make another knot and give them some little fringe. So I just let them hang out until I get to the end, and then I can see what I want to do with that. And so we start. I am going to separate these 2 little threads, and I did go, there were beautiful seed beads that came in this month's box, but they were 8/0s, and I wanted 11/0s. I just like them in this type of thing, and I also like for 2 whole beads like the bibos and these, and even Tila beads, and I may even add some in, I'll see as I get going, but I just really like how they space them out. Start off with one of these little turquoise magnesite beads, and as I said, both strands fit through. Isn't that amazing? That little 4mm bead accommodates 2 strands. And you know, when you start off, you've got your full length that you've cut, so there's a little bit to manage, but once you get a few beads and a few knots, it becomes much easier. And so from here, I just have to decide if I want to do a knot in between each bead, or if I want to do a random pattern, you know, exactly kind of what I want to do. And I think I am going to do a knot, a lot of knots in between the beads, because as I said, I love the color of this cord. And you do not need a tool for knotting. You can do this entire thing with your fingers, but I have a knotting tweezer and I absolutely love this tool. I'm a toolaholic, but this one is really good. It's inexpensive, very simple, and it gives me perfect control of where my knots land. So once I've done my overhand knot and I have this loop, then I just reach inside the loop and get a hold of the cords right where they come out of the bead, and wherever the tip on this tweezer is, when you pull, that is exactly where your knot is going to go. So it gives you perfect control where you don't get unwanted space in between beads, and you know, you can place your knots perfectly. So I really love using my knotting tweezer. But you can also use, like, if you have the Xuron crimping pliers that have this tiny little tip, you can use those. If you have a really tiny needle nose pliers, you can use those, but I love this tool. I can link something similar to below. I've had mine for a really long time, but it really makes knotting fun. And then, as I said, from here I just have to decide how I want my pattern to look. And I think I am going to, I will have to separate the cords for one of these yellow beads, but I do want this yellow in here. And so what I'm going to do is have one cord going through the bead and one hugging the outside of the bead. It would be nice if both strands fit through this little disc, but they don't. You can see the hole is really small. And then I might even string, since I have silver here, just looked in the camera and realized that I'm almost out of your view. Not quite, but almost. Let me move everything up. And I am going to just show you how I get this started and then do my pattern play and the bulk of my knotting with the camera turned off, and I will come back and show you where I'm at. So what I like to do sometimes is just add embellishment. So I think I'm going to put a few seed beads, I think since I have silver here, I think I will string on a few of these little gold 11-0s and just have them lay across the top of that disc bead. Oh, that's pretty. That looks great. And so when you're mixing metals, like at least for me, I think that it's nice to have kind of an even mix and alternate them fairly evenly. So I'm going to do that overhand knot. And then same thing, just reach inside, grab it right where I want the knot to be, pull, and I try not to use my fingernails as tools, so I even like having the tweezer to lock the knot in place. And just give it a little pull. Look how pretty that already is, and I already only have 2 beads on there. So pretty. And I think at this point, I think I will separate and add a 2-hole bead. So from here, I just have to decide if I want to start with this or these or the little bibo beads. And I think I'm going to start with one of the little green ones. These match the cabochons perfectly. And so I'm just going to, let me get my threads a little bit more organized here so I don't thread with a twist. There we go. Just to make the stringing a little bit easier. Just kind of hold them together and I pinch and twist, and then I'm just going to thread just like that, just thread and just pull it down. And like I say, your first few beads, you see, have all those inches of cord. And just put it in place. Since I'm doing my my mix of gold and silver, I'm going to put a silver seed bead on each strand. That is so pretty. That little group of beads makes like a component or a bead in the bracelet. It's beautiful. And then I'm going to follow that up with another knot. And then I think next up, I think I am going to do one of these chartreuse beads, and they can go, they both, 2 strands fit through the bead on these. Aren't they amazing? This little 4mm bead accommodates both of those strands. And so from here, I just have to decide if I want to do a completely random pattern, just having all of my colors appear in my bracelet, or if I want to do a repeat pattern. That is so pretty. I already love it. It's so tropical. So I am going to play with my pattern and continue in that way, adding beads, 2 hole and single, putting both strands through the single hole and knotting. And when I get to my desired length, I'll check back in. It'll just be a second for you. So I enjoy this process so much of stringing and knotting and pattern play, and I ended up finishing this bracelet without turning the camera back on. So I'll just show you a little close-up of my pattern. I really did a random pattern, but I tried to intermingle all the colors that I wanted, and then I was totally playing, but I created this little seed bead bow with these little like fringy little tassels on the end, and it is just so cute. I mean, this bracelet is just so cute with the little bow. But I knew that I was going to make another bracelet, another design similar to this, so I'll do another one of these with you and show you exactly how I did it. And on my second bracelet, I'm not going to do the little cabochon focal, but isn't that the cutest little detail on a bracelet? And coincidentally, bows are another big trend for 2024. And the stylists that I listen to, they say people either love them or hate them. I personally love them, and I just thought it was such a cute little detail. But I am going to do one more thing to this little bracelet. Let's see, I've got it twisted here. I am going to take one of the little flowers that came in the box, and I have these Potomac. These are from Athena Cast. These are premium 29 karat gold plated 2-inch ball head pins. And so I took one of the little crystals that we received in the box and threaded that on, and one of those little flowers, and this is one of those 80 seed beads that came in the box, the aluminum, just to add a little something. And I'm going to make a little dangle here, a little charm, and just add another little something special to this bracelet. So I'm just going to grab a hold of that little stack of beads, give my head pin a 90-degree bend, round nose pliers. I don't need a very large loop. I'm just going to come down near the tip of the pliers and just form that wire over that top barrel. And then I need to just rotate that so that it's out of my way. and pull that wire around to the bottom barrel and just center everything. And then I will just complete that by wrapping down to my beads. I'm going to use my other pair of pliers to help me. And that little charm is done. Just have to trim and tuck. Trim and tuck. We do that on every little wire wrapped loop. Always being careful when you have a seed bead or any bead really, that when you're tucking your wire, you don't, you know, put pressure and crush your bead. Okay, and I am going to take, because I am alternating the gold and silver, so I'm going to use another one of the little oval jump rings that came in the box, and I'm going to attach this right on the other side. But my little trick for attaching my charms or any of my components that I want to move, my little trick is, instead of putting my jump ring through one of the loops, I put my jump ring over the entire thing. So I don't know if you can see what I did, but I just put it over the entire thing and then thread my little charm on that I made and then close it. And that way, no matter which direction I close my bracelet in or which way it moves on my arm, my charm doesn't get stuck. It moves around 360 degrees, and this magnetic clasp is a pain. It's grabbing my plier, but let me get it closed and I'll show you. Get the pliers out of the way. But so that's my little trick with my charm, is that this is totally free moving when you don't attach it inside a loop. When you put it around the circumference, it just makes such a nice little detail on any bracelet. But look at this sweet little bracelet. It is so malleable, so soft. There's a little bit of orange peeking through all those tropical Hawaiian, you know, it just reminds me of the big island of Hawaii. So that little sweet bracelet is done, and I'm going to do another one, and I will show you how my little trick for making a seed bead bow. It's so sweet and it looks so cute on the wrist. So on this one, I am going to switch to all gold, and I'm also going to switch to Brazilian wax cord, same as this one, but in the pink color. And I am not going to be using one of those components. This is just going to be totally a strung bracelet. And so I'm going to take another one of those little magnetic clasps in gold and just feed it down to the middle. So on this other bracelet, I cut my cording in half. But on this one, I don't have the little focal point. So on this one, I am just going to, let's see, I'll do an overhand knot. I'm going to tie right on. And as always, when you start out, the cord is a little bit long. And I have even done these where I don't attach to a clasp right away, where I just clamp one end and then create my pattern. But it is kind of nice to have a beginning point to your bracelet. And so I just did 2 overhand knots right there, and then I'm going to draw these back together and start this pattern with one of these little gemstone beads. And so if you see, like while I was stringing, I was looking at my materials, and I decided to change up my colors. So on this one, I'm adding in pink. I think I am still going to put the yellow, the turquoise, this chartreuse, like lime green. And I really did like the way these little 2-hole beads in this sagey green went with the gray and the turquoise. It was just a really pretty, like, calming color combination. So I'm going to see about mixing those in. So this is going to be essentially the exact same thing. I have picked up a bead, I think that my threads fit through these turquoise beads, but I might have picked up one with a smaller hole. It's a gemstone bead, and they are notorious for not having consistent hole sizes. I got it. So that's how I'm going to start this bracelet, is just bringing that first little turquoise bead right down. And that is the start of this one. And from here, it is exactly that same calming, relaxing, repetitive, tie a knot, you know, choose your next bead or group of beads. And I just enjoy this so much. I just think this is so relaxing for me. This is good for mental health, the cognitive, you know, part of your brain and your eye and your hands working and creating. I just really love it. And it's so gratifying because with every bead and every knot, it gets cuter and cuter. So, and these are so colorful and sweet for summer. So let's see, I think I am going to start off with a gray. As I said, and this is one of the things I love about these boxes. It surprises me sometimes when someone else has curated a box, what works that I might not have seen or probably would not have seen on my own. And these gray little bibo beads are exactly a case in point. I probably would never have picked up a gray bead to add in with this collection, but it looks so good, and it's just a pretty color combination. Bella cat, what are you doing? My little cat is running around the table. And so let's see, I think I'm going to do gray, and then oh, I want a seed bead. So I did remove the silver seed beads because I'm going to do all gold on this one. Look at this beautiful effect. Isn't that gorgeous? It's so simple with the little 11-0 seed beads in between, but it's really pretty. So my pattern is completed on my second bracelet, and it looks like this. It's a little bit random, but I got all the colors in there that I wanted in. And I just love these little sections. I think it's just amazing how the two hole beads fit together, and they look so great with the waxed cord knots in between. See that little bit of pink. And so I have, when I finished stringing, I did another little charm with my leftover beads the same way that I did this one, and it's ready to go. And so now I'm just going to bring this clasp around and tie off, and then make another little seed bead bow on this one. So I'm just going to put both strands through. And there's really no, well, there may be a right or a wrong way to do this, but I just kind of make a loop and get one knot in really tight, and then I separate my cords So like that, I just make a loop like right around, and I usually try to go right on top of my first knot that was in my stringing pattern. So I usually just do that, and then I am going to separate the cords and pull that knot nice and tight. And since I'm going to do a bow here, I am going to leave it not too thick. I'm not going to do it. If I weren't going to do a bow, I would probably do another knot and like wrap it around. In fact, I can wrap it around and encase my knot again and just tie another overhand knot right here and then pull really tight. You can do that a couple of times if it makes it feel secure. And like I said, I'm a gluer, I'll put glue. But now that I have my two strands separated, I am going to create the loops of my bow by stringing on 16 of these 11O seed beads onto each strand. And once I have 16 seed beads on either strand, this is going to look kind of strange and not at all like a bow, but I'm going to come right here where these two meet and tie an overhand knot right there. And that is actually going to be the center of the bow's loops. And then you just push it down into place and separate, can you see? And separate the cords again and bring them around to the back. It's a little bit to hold on to. Just cross them over. And I'll just turn it over, and I'm just going to tie it off in the back and then bring it back around to the front to do the little ribbon ends, the little tails of the bow. So it's just a simple overhand knot. And before you tighten it down, you can, make sure that it's landed the way you would like it to be. It's a little funky of a bow. I am so sorry, you guys. I was tying this knot on the bow and my battery just shut down. It was so dead. So I charged for 10 minutes and I stopped tying. So I hope that you saw what I did. I stopped tying, but in essence, I brought both of the strands around to the front, just making sure that my two little bow loops are the way that I want. And then I tied it again, an overhand knot right here in the middle. And then from here, you can either let your little bow ribbons go like that, or you can pull this down. It's waxed cord, so if you pull it down so that they hang like that. But I kind of think that on this bracelet I might do my little ribbons going like that. So I put 12 seed beads on each end. And that was just my measurements, 16 for the loops and 12 for the little ribbon ends. You can see how it looks. Do I want to do that? I think I actually am going to pull this down. I'm going to pull so that it hangs more like a traditional bow and just give it a little tug. And I did put some glue in my other one just to make sure that it stays where I want it. And this is a spot where your knotting tweezer is really useful because I want those seed beads to stay tight. So I'm going to reach inside that loop and grab the cord right at, and just reposition right at that last seed bead and pull tight and just keep them in place. And do the same thing on this side, just an overhand knot. Reach inside and pull. This is so cute. Aren't seed beads amazing what you can do with them? I have never done this before, but I just got the idea while I was sitting here knotting and stringing, and I just think it's adorable. And then I am just going to take scissors and cut these two, but I'm leaving like, you know, 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to use my knotting tweezers to separate all the little fibers in the waxed cord. So it makes like tiny little tassels at the end of the knot and the bow. Little fringiness. Is that a word, fringiness? I like it. I don't know if it's a word, but I like it. That is so sweet. And then I really like to put a little dab of GS Hypo Cement, like right in the middle and even on the back of my bow. My GS Hypo Cement, there's still plenty of glue left in here, but my needle fell inside the tube, so my precision tip, I meant to say, is not intact anymore, but I think I can do it. I just want to direct like a little bit there, and just, in fact, let me just get a piece of wire and just do it with a piece of wire. Make my own precision tip. And I'm just going to put a little bit right there. Let me get this back on. And I'm just going to pull those two little front strands down, just position my bow the way that I want it to dry. My glue is everywhere because my little precision tip is gone. So I will just let that rest a little bit that way. Whoops, these magnetic clasps. Love them and hate them. So my other little guy is done, and I'm going to, let me clasp this and see where I want my little charm. I think I'm going to do it right on the other side of the clasp. So I just have a little gold jump ring here, and I'm going to open it, and same little trick that I did there is not attach my charm in the loop. I'm going to attach it over the entire circumference of my stringing material and close that jump ring really well. And then this charm, just no matter which way I clasp my bracelet, that charm will hang just right. Let my little bow dry. Isn't that the cutest, sweetest little bracelet? I thought these 2-hole beads and this whole box was just so lovely and sweet, and these little petite bracelets are also so lovely and sweet. And so I just thought a bow would just be the perfect little addition. I think it's so cute to have the little seed bead bow attached right to the bracelet. So I will put some pictures at the end so you can have a really close look at my bracelets. Oh, I almost forgot. Sometimes I don't always show this, but I am going to do this today. I always coat anything that's metal that is just plated with my Permalac anti-tarnish. This is a semi-gloss. I don't know if you can see how thin it is. It is a wonderful little trick for anything that is plated. Now this this little cabochon connector, let me find my paper. This is 99.9 pure silver plating, but it is plated. And my little magnetic clasp is also plated. So this is just something that I always do just to make my jewelry last. And I think this one is going to be a gift for a friend. So I am just going to take and brush my Permalac coating. You cannot, it dries really quickly and you cannot see it at all. Like, you already can't see that I have put anything on there. And I just get my brush like inside the loops of that connector. And if you accidentally touch a bead with this coating, you don't see it. I mean, you don't purposefully try to coat your beads, but you really don't see it. And so, like, even the rim of this, let me get it this way. It dries so fast though. Look, that's almost dry already, but I did touch it with my fingers. I'm going to give it another little coat. And let me just turn it this way and get my fingers on either side. And I just take and just touch like wherever there's metal showing. And that dries really, really quickly, but it makes all the difference in your bracelet lasting for a long time. And as soon as my glue is dry on this one, I will also coat this little clasp. So if you are interested in the Potomac treasure box, I will put a link in the description box below. And as I always say, do not forget, even if you are not interested in the subscription box, and they actually have two, I'm working with the treasure box edition, but they have a kit edition too if you enjoy you know, where projects are planned out and all the ingredients are already gathered for you. It is a lovely monthly subscription. But I will link the website because the Permalac coating is there. They have an entire section of the website for seed beads. If you love beautiful seed beads to work with, they have 2-hole and multi-hole beads. They have crystals, Potomac pearls. Their website is an amazing supply source for jewelry makers, and the quality is amazing. Beautiful, beautiful quality, and the prices are great. So I'll put a link in the description box below and pictures up at the end when my little bracelets are dry. And I thank you so much for choosing my video today, and I hope everyone is safe and well and having fun on your beading mats, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao, jewelry making friends.